Hello, hello, hello. Can anybody hear me? Because I have definitely had some problems with live streams in the past where I was like talking for the first 3 minutes and nobody could hear me. So if you could indicate in the chat if you can hear me, that would be superb, everybody. Okay, great, good. All right, well, this is going to be an interesting one. If you are not clued in on the title, this has been much requested by my Twitter followers. I have brought it up before, and well, among other options of like, what do you guys want me to cover? And every time, like, everyone's like, masturbation! We want to hear you talk about masturbation! So, I'm gonna give the people what they want. And unlike what Nervardia said, no, I'm not actually going to masturbate on screen. It's not going to happen. I would like to keep my YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Meredith. Keeping my YouTube channel. Thank you. Okay, but let's get down to it. All right. Can everybody see? Oh, let me adjust this little body here. Can I adjust this? No. Can I adjust this? Yeah. All right. Yeah, okay. How's everybody doing in the chat, by the way? How is everyone on this fine, for me, Wednesday evening? Everybody doing good? Everybody feeling fine on this momentous occasion? Yeah, yes. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so how can I conquer the habit of masturbation? That is the title of the chapter we're going to be going over. And in case you don't know what this book that I'm going over is, the Jehovah's Witnesses publish it's also a series of articles they used to have in the Awaken Watchtower, but they keep it, most of them now, in this book called Young People Ask Answers That Work, but they're really answers that suck. They're bad. And a little while ago, I went over the chapter about homosexuality that they did. I did that for Pride Month. It was rough to get through. And now they have this chapter about masturbation, which I'm also going to go over. This book series that they have and the article series, the Young People Ask series, is obviously intended for teenagers, young adults, and yeah, they just give really bad advice. And I took this advice, or at least I tried to, which led to a lot of shame cycles. But anyway, let's get right into it. How about that? How can I conquer the habit of masturbation? So immediately putting it into the framework of something that you are addicted to, because you can't just be somebody who masturbates every now and then. You have to be, like, if you masturbate, then you're addicted to masturbating, because that's how it works, I guess. It's like nicotine, I guess. And to be fair, anything that releases those yummy feel-good chemicals in your brain can become addictive, really. But that doesn't mean anybody who ever does it is addicted. Just for the record. Like, you can get to a point where you're addicted to masturbating if it gets to the point where, like, you're not living your life because you're too busy masturbating. That's an addiction and you should talk to a therapist. But that's not what they're talking about. They're just talking about a horny teenager who masturbates, like, once a day or something like that. Or maybe not even that much. Just at all, really, I guess. Okay. I began masturbating when I was 8 years old. Later, I learned God's view of the matter. I felt terrible every time I gave in. How could God love someone like me? I asked myself. Louise. That's part of the reason why I feel like sex ed should start earlier. Like, there's a lot of people that argue that, you know, sexual education should only start when you're already in puberty, but you discover your own sexual anatomy way before you're, like, old enough to procreate. So, yeah, kids should at least know what their parts are and what the names for them are. And they should definitely be able to talk to their parents or their teachers about, like, oh, when I touch this part of myself, it feels good. And the parents or teacher, well, I guess really this is more of a conversation you should have with your parent, but the parent should be able to say, yeah, lots of people do that. It does feel good, but that's definitely something you should do in private. It's not something that you do around other people. It's a private matter, but it's okay. Like, that's a really simple conversation to have. It doesn't seem like it's that difficult to talk to a 7 or 8 year old about that kind of thing. But the people that don't want to have these conversations with their kids have kids that start masturbating when they're 8 and then years later find out it's supposed to be sinful because no one's going to talk to masturbation to an 8-year-old. Somebody who already doesn't want to, talk about sex certainly isn't going to talk about it to an 8-year-old. So, yeah. That's actually, the funny thing with this, actually, I will say, I kind of doubt, they put a lot of quotes in these from young people. I doubt the validity of quite a few of them, but I will say I actually do relate to this person's experience because I didn't start as early as 8, but I discovered masturbation probably, it was before I started menstruating, and I started menstruating when I was 13. So it was before that, I think. Just maybe by a year or two. Maybe I was 11 or 12 or something. I don't know. It might have even been the same year, but before. I don't remember. But I hadn't really understood that masturbation was a sin until afterwards. I didn't feel any shame about it. I just, actually, at the time, it was just something that helped me sleep because, I'm a kid with ADHD, so falling asleep is hard. And that was just, I basically discovered masturbation and used it mainly as a sleep aid and as a stress reliever. And I guess I kind of just knew not to do it in front of other people. Not that I was specifically trying to hide from other people or anything, but it was just something that I did when I went to bed. Wasn't a huge deal. I never did it at an inappropriate time. That would have been a really bad way for my parents to find out that I masturbated. But yeah, okay. So anyway, I relate to this person's experience completely, and I was there, but that doesn't mean that masturbation is a bad thing. Anyways, when you reach puberty, sexual desires can become particularly strong. As a result, you might fall into a habit of masturbation. There's a footnote here. Let me find that. Masturbation is not to be confused with involuntary sexual arousal. The fact that this needs to be clarified. For example, a boy might wake up sexually excited or have a nocturnal emission of semen. A nocturnal emission of semen. I think they're talking about wet dreams? Similarly, some girls might find that they are stimulated unintentionally, particularly just before or after their menstrual period. In contrast, masturbation involves deliberate sexual self-stimulation. Say that 5 times fast. Sexual self-stimulation. I already can't do it. Never mind. Hello again, everybody in the chat. Hi, the snark. This is fun to read. Okay. Many would say that it's not a big deal. I would be among those people. No one gets hurt, they argue. That is true. However, there's good reason to avoid the practice. The Apostle Paul wrote, "Dead and therefore your body members, blah, blah, blah." One of the things I do want to say, as far as a lot of the scriptures that they quote, I'm sure there's a context for this. Like, a lot of the epistles are letters written to a specific set of people, which is something that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough when these scriptures are quoted. Like for example, the situation that arose in the Bible that Jehovah's Witnesses use as an excuse for disfellowshipping was like about a specific person And then the person who wrote that ended up basically writing a retraction and being like, wait, that might be too harsh. You guys should be nice to that guy instead of completely shunning him. So, but anyway, deaden there for your body members, blah, 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 blah. Masturbation does not deaden sexual appetite, but fuels it. I don't know if it does. I wouldn't say that it fuels it. I would say that it obviously doesn't deaden sexual appetite, but you can't deaden sexual appetite, as far as I know. I mean, what? It's just a desire. You can't really, like, make desires go away, you know? Like, if you want something, you want it, and you can have the self-control to not go get it, but that doesn't mean that the desire just goes away. Anyway. Masturbation instills attitudes that are totally self-centered. For example, when masturbating, a person is immersed in his or her own body sensations. I don't know if this is just a thing with Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure there are other Christian denominations or even just other fundamentalist denominations that have this completely, like, don't think about yourself at all type of attitude. But, I mean, self-centered. Yes, of course it's self-centered. It's masturbation. You are sexually satisfying yourself. I wouldn't call, like, feeding myself food self-centered just because I'm satisfying my own desire for food. But yeah, you're immersed in your own body sensations. Like, are you not supposed to be immersed in your own sensations when you're having sex with somebody else? Are you not supposed to give a shit how it makes you feel? Like, what does that even mean? You're gonna have those kinds of sensations whether it's coming from you or somebody else doing the same thing. It doesn't, like, that doesn't even make sense as an argument. Just and even if those feelings are self-centered, that doesn't mean that after you're done masturbating, you're gonna be like, I'm the only person I care about now. Fuck everybody else. Like, that doesn't mean that it's gonna make you a self-centered person afterwards. I mean, one self-centered act does not make you a self-centered person. Okay. Masturbation causes one to view those of the opposite sex as mere objects or tools for self-gratification. Again, that's just a hard no. That's not true. Like, I've never, like, I don't even know what, like, this is just not true. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that objectify other people, but it's not going to be caused by masturbation if someone objectifies someone else. And to a certain degree, if you're, like, I do think of other people in a sexual situation as being, at least in part, for my self-gratification. You want if you're having sex with another person, you would be thinking of that person as someone who's going to satisfy you. You're also ideally thinking of that person as someone you want to satisfy. And in the context of you having sex with that person, why would that be an issue? Like, unless you're the kind of person that goes around and you only think of other people as sex tools, then yeah, that's one thing. But I don't think that's the norm. And even if it was, I don't think that would be because of masturbation. I mean, where are they getting this information from? This just not true. Okay. The selfish thinking that is instilled through the practice of masturbation can make satisfying sexual relations in marriage difficult to achieve. That is also just not true. I was doing some research on masturbation earlier in preparation for this video, and pretty much everything that I found indicated that people who are in relationships and masturbate have better sex with each other. Like, they are, and that totally makes sense, you know? Like, you would be able to know what you like, what's good for you. You would be able to find that out through being able to learn how to satisfy yourself. And I'm sure that there are other factors involved, but basically the research completely disagrees with this statement. It's just straight up not true. I mean, it's like they're just saying things that, and not only the first two were just unfounded, but the last one is like, actually the research pretty much says the opposite of that. So I don't know what you're talking about. Ugh. Okay. Rather than resort to masturbation to relieve pent-up sexual urges, strive to cultivate self-control. I mean, I feel like I'm only getting through a sentence of this at a time because every sentence I read is stupider and stupider. Yeah, rather than resort to masturbation to relieve pent-up sexual urges, strive to cultivate self-control. I mean, self-control from like what exactly? Do they think that this these pent-up sexual urges are either going to be you go out and rape someone, or you masturbate, or you just have self-control? Like, I don't get it. And to be completely honest, um in my own experience, masturbation is a good way to relieve pent-up sexual urges because, first of all, like I said earlier, they were saying, that it's not deadening your body members. It's like, yeah, but you're not making the desires go away either. Those sexual urges don't just disappear, and you don't have to do anything with them, but letting it fester can definitely become unhealthy, especially especially when we're talking about teenagers. Just like, ah, I've known so many sexually repressed people, and I remember actually having a conversation one time with one of my friends when I was a teenager about masturbation. And he was one of my best friends, and he was a guy and I was a girl, and it was really kind of awkward, but we were both talking about how we were like struggling with masturbation. And for one thing, it made me realize how common it was. And I remember us talking about it, and he basically said having this conversation made me want to masturbate. And I was like, oh, well, this wasn't very good then. But it's like, like, teenagers just have sexual urges. And even if they're like weird or misdirected or whatever, it's gonna happen. And just self-control is a good thing to have to avoid doing things you shouldn't do. This isn't a thing that you shouldn't do. That's the problem. Ugh, okay. To help you do that, the Bible recommends that you avoid circumstances that might arouse you sexually in the first place. Circumstances. Again, teenagers. This is written for teenagers. A stiff breeze can be an arousing circumstance. Whatever. Still, what if you have become enslaved to the habit of masturbation? Again, they're framing masturbation like it's something that controls you and is like, if you masturbate at all, then you're addicted to masturbation. Like, it's not just a thing that you might do. It's a habit you have to break. And framing it that way automatically makes it seem negative, obviously. I need a second for this. Let me check the live chat. Do. Ooh, Maya spilling the tea. Able to explain. Yeah. Maya Atkinson says, not being able to express oneself properly can lead to sexually deviant acts that your elders have to tell the congregation to keep from the police. Right. Ugh. Talk about the whole child abuse thing. Oh, okay. Hi, everybody in the chat again. You guys rock. Thank you for sticking around for this. I'm sure you're all very entertained. Okay, let's keep going. Perhaps you've tried to stop, but without success. It would be easy to conclude that you're a lost cause, that you're incapable of living up to God's standards. Wow, what a great way to frame that. I mean, I totally felt that way when I was 13, 14, 15. I don't remember how old I was, but I was a teenager. And I definitely felt like I was a lost cause because I couldn't not masturbate, I guess. It's not even that. Well, for a while, it was just something that I did because, it helped me fall asleep. So that was nice. It was also a good reliever of tension. So that was also nice. But I didn't stop doing it because it still served that purpose. And it wasn't like it was something that, again, they frame it as an addiction. It wasn't like it was something that was, affecting my life negatively. It wasn't something that was eating up all of my time and energy to the point where it was in the way of me living my life. It was just like, I do it about every day because it helps me to relax and to sleep, which is something I have a hard time doing. That's it. So yeah, I did it pretty often because I was homeschooled, so I didn't really have any extracurricular activities, so I had a lot of pent-up energy at the end of the day. I wasn't very active, so I wasn't getting my energy out any other way. I was not relaxed by the time I went to bed at night. So, yeah. Anyways, that's how a boy named Pedro viewed himself. When I relapsed, I felt terrible. I thought I could never atone for what I had done. I found it hard to pray. Yeah, that was me too. When I did eventually tell my mom, because I found out that masturbation was a sin, I was like, hey, so I've been doing this for a while, and she had me start marking off on my calendar if I had masturbated that day or not. And actually, I don't know if it was her that told me to do that or if I just did that. I don't remember. But I remember there was like, the most I went was like a 3-month period without masturbating at all. And I had all these green check marks on my calendar. And then there was this night where I just could not sleep for the life of me. Like, I was up for hours and hours trying to fall asleep. And then I masturbated and I was out. And then I felt horrible the next day just for wanting to sleep. Like, I literally just did it because I couldn't sleep. It's just dumb, and I felt terrible about it, and I got the same message, that this is giving, the encouragement of like, don't give up, it's just a relapse. But again, we're talking about something that isn't actually harmful. We're talking about something that isn't necessarily a habit that needs to be broken, because it's not harmful, it's not bad, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's good for you in a lot of ways, especially as a teenager. But yeah, so I struggled with a lot of feelings of guilt and shame over this particular topic as a teenager, because I just felt like I was just not living up to God's standards, as it says in the paragraph. I was not living up to God's standards. I wasn't doing enough. Clear, and they always say that scripture, that something about basically that God will never burden you. He'll never give you more. He'll never ask more of you than you're capable of. Therefore, anything that is expected of you, according to his standards, is not impossible. So basically, if you're not doing it, it's your fault. So yeah, that does in fact lead to some feelings of shame and guilt and worthlessness. Because you're told from the same book, God never asks of you more than you can do, and if you're not doing this, well, what's that say about you, buddy? Like, of course you would draw that conclusion about yourself. Ugh. Anyway, let's see. If that's how you feel, take courage. Your case isn't hopeless. Many young people and adults have overcome the habit of masturbation, and you can too. Ugh. Dealing with guilt. Oh, I wonder where that guilt comes from that we have to deal with. As already noted, those who have fallen into the habit of masturbation are often plagued with guilt. Without a doubt, being saddened in a godly way can give you the incentive to overcome the habit. So basically, you should feel at least a little bad about it, to make you stop. But excessive guilt can be counterproductive. It can make you feel so discouraged that you just want to give up the fight. Yeah, that's what happened to me. Not with masturbation specifically, but like a bunch of things all together, all piled up on top of each other. I guess masturbation was probably included in that, but it was definitely one of the smaller things compared to some of the other things. But in the end, all the guilt that I was feeling ended up making me want to give up. And that's actually why I got disfellowshipped, was because I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have sex with people that I like. And I'm gonna get disfellowshipped because I'm done fighting with myself and with everything. Because I feel like I'm dying and I want to be dead and I don't want to die, so I'm just gonna go do what I want to do so I stop feeling horrible. So yeah, it can make you want to give up. Anyway, so strive to put the matter in perspective. Masturbation is a form of uncleanness. Really? Is it? Because again, as Maya mentioned in the chat, masturbation isn't mentioned in the Bible. So is it an uncleanness? Is it really? Because it's not mentioned anywhere. It can make you a slave to various desires and pleasures, and it fosters unhealthy attitudes. Again, they're saying that it's, an addiction, that it'll make you selfish, blah, blah, blah. And that's just not true. It's not there. Anyway. Oh, there's a did you know. Did you know any weak person can give in to his... Wow, that's horrible. Any weak person can give in to his or her sexual urges, but it takes a real man or a real woman to display self-control even when in private. No scripture cited. Did you know? Like, that's some did you know. Ugh. That's some did you know. That's so stupid. Yes, Nervardia, I will give a couple more wrenches out. If anybody wants to be a moderator, I will dub thee a moderator. Just, say, ooh, pick me, give me a wrench, and I will give it to you. And I already gave one to Red is Crazy because she's my wonderful patron, so she deserves it. Anyways, let's see. Germ, I would never give you a wrench, even if you wanted one. Except that since you don't want one, I'll give you one, because I hate you. And alias fake name. You can have a wrench too. Everybody gets a wrench. Anyway, okay. Back to this. At the same time, masturbation is not a form of gross sexual immorality, such as fornication. Right, because it's not mentioned in the Bible, so of course it's not listed anywhere in there. God, this is so stupid. If you have a problem with masturbation, you need not conclude that you have committed that unforgivable sin. The key is to resist the urge and never give up your fight. Let's look at this. A fall while running does not mean that you have to start over, nor does a relapse with masturbation erase the progress you've already made. I mean, that's true with actual relapses. It's just the way that they frame this in in terms of it being an addiction that you have to overcome just really pisses me off. Because some people don't even masturbate that much. Like, literally, masturbation is not even an issue unless A, you're masturbating too hard and you're like, because apparently, according to the research that I did earlier, if you are a person with a penis and you're like, your grip is too hard, you can actually like make your penis swell up or something like that. That doesn't sound very pleasant. So, like, use lube, please. Use a light grip. Don't be crazy. Don't freaking hurt yourself. And yeah, there's some risk of UTI if you're not washing your hands and your toys if you have a vagina. Um, but like, that's just a matter of doing things, safe and sanitarily, and not a matter of masturbation is bad and evil and a bad habit that'll kill you. Like, unless you're literally doing it so often that it is getting in the way of your life, it's not it's not a habit you have to break. It's not the kind of thing that's like, "Oh, this is terrible. You need to stop." Relapse. Like, just all this talk of relapse and giving up the fight, it just pisses me off because there are actual addictions in the Jehovah's Witnesses that need to be overcome. There's a huge drinking culture in the Jehovah's Witnesses. I have a friend whose father was killed because he was driving drunk. And he was a Jehovah's Witness. I think he was, I don't know if he was an elder, but it, there are bigger problems they're not addressing. But speaking of, did somebody ask me, what am I drinking? I'm drinking a strawberry lemonade. It has very little alcohol in it, and I just need to loosen up a little bit because this shit is crazy. But yeah, it's just a little bit. Anyways, it is easy to become downhearted. Downhearted. It is easy to become downhearted after a relapse. When that occurs, take to heart the words of Proverbs 24:16. I'm not reading scriptures, I'm over it. But it's the one about you fall down, you get back up again. A temporary setback does not make you a wicked person, so do not give up. Instead, analyze what led to the relapse and try to avoid repeating the same pattern. Well, shit, I guess I should have just stopped having ADHD and fallen the fuck to sleep. My bad. It's so dumb. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I'm not drunk, unfortunately, but it sure would be easier to read if I were. Ugh. Yeah. Take time to meditate on God's love and mercy. Hey, in the chat, can you guys list some great examples of all the times God has done things that are loving and merciful? I'm sure you guys can think of a few. With psalmist David, who is no stranger to personal weakness, stated, as a father shows... no, I'm not going to read that again. I don't know why, but I just like... I don't like reading scriptures anymore. Unless I'm quoting it at a Christian to be like, why are you doing some shit? I'm not for it. But it's just a scripture that says God's merciful, supposedly. Yeah. Okay. Jehovah takes into consideration our imperfection and is ready to forgive. If he's so ready to forgive, why did he have to kill his son to be able to forgive us? On the other hand, he wants us to put forth effort to improve. So what practical steps can you take to conquer your habit? Tip: pray before urges become strong. Ask Jehovah God to give you power beyond what is normal to cope with temptation. I mean, yeah, I can imagine that praying definitely would kill the mood. But only because you're in your head, you're like, someone is literally watching me. Someone is literally watching me. Which, yeah, definitely would kill the mood, I guess. Mm. Analyze your entertainment. Do you watch movies or TV programs or visit websites that are sexually stimulating? Wait a minute. Websites that are sexually stimulating? What do they mean? Are they talking about porn? They can't be, because I feel like they would specifically say pornography if they were talking about porn. Uh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Okay. Flee from the psalmist wisely prayed to God, make my eyes pass on from seeing what is worthless. Uh, oh wait, see volume 2, chapter 33. I bet that is about pornography. I'll check that later, but I'm sure it is. Force your mind to focus on other matters. Oh yeah, because that just works. Uh, I don't know if anybody else can just ignore physical sensations when by just trying to think about something else, but like I can't distract myself from being hungry or having a headache. So I don't know how well that would work. A Christian named William advises before going to bed, read something related to spiritual things. It's very important that the last thought of the day be a spiritual one. It really doesn't matter that it's spiritual as long as it's something that's not sexy, really. Which, yeah, the Bible isn't super sexy unless you're looking at a ripped Jesus hanging from the cross or the stake or whatever, and he's all like ripped and muscly. Maybe that turns you on. I don't know. But having the very last thought of the day be a spiritual one isn't as important as it just being a not sexy thought, really. Um, yeah, if the last thing that I'm thinking about before bed is a conversation I had with my grandmother, I'm probably not going to want to masturbate then either. I have been, and okay, and I will say this, I am a person who is extremely easy to turn off. Like, and I have a really, really goofy fiance. So you can imagine how that works. I mean, I'm not gonna like, yeah, there's really nothing to elaborate on except that I'm a very easy person to turn off, and I have a very, very goofy fiance. He's just the fucking silliest person I know, and I love him for it. But sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to do anything anymore. Never mind. It's all good. Now that we're having this conversation, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. Anyways, let's see. Talk to someone about the problem. Shame might make it difficult for you to bring up the matter to a confidant, yet doing so can help you to overcome the habit. Just make sure it's not a pedophile elder, because that's going to turn them on too, and then they're going to have you touch their wee-wee. You know. I ended up telling my mother about the whole thing, and I remember one of the things that she told me basically was just, like, they have really, unless they make shit up, they don't really have a justification for why masturbation is wrong. So one of the things that my mother told me was basically that those are feelings that are reserved for a married man and woman. But then at some point later, she told me, me and my sister, that the first time that we have sex, we should definitely use lube because it will hurt the first time we have sex and lube will help. And I was like, but mom, I read that if you're sufficiently aroused, your first time having sex won't hurt. And she was like, oh, huh. And I was like, oh my God, why am I giving my mother a sex ed lesson? But also, it kind of sounds like in a Jehovah's Witness marriage, at least, you're probably not gonna get those feelings from a man and woman being married. Probably not. So, yeah, take with that what you will. And finally, the action plan. I can keep my mind on things that are chaste if instead of giving in to the urge, I will What I would like to ask my parents about this subject is, and by the way, I had all these filled out in my personal copy of this book that I had at home. Um, like for every chapter, even the ones that I really didn't have any kind of issue with. But yeah, that's the whole chapter, I think. Oh no, that's not. I thought that was at the end. I thought the action plan was at the end. I guess not. Okay, we'll keep going. Since overcoming the problem, I can keep a clean conscience before Jehovah, and that is something I wouldn't trade for anything. Sarah. Um, I mean, I don't know about clean conscience, but yeah, I'm sure not feeling guilty all the time is great. I'm sure that's great. You can also get that by getting out of a religion that doesn't guilt and shame you for everything you do. That also works. So, that's what a Christian named David found. I talked privately with my father, he says. I'll never forget what he said. With a reassuring smile on his face, he said, "You make me so proud of you." He knew what I had to go through to get to that point. No words could have lifted my spirits and determination more. Excuse me. My father then showed me a few scriptures to help me see that I was not too far gone, and then some more scriptures to be sure I understood the seriousness of my wrong course. So, started off by saying, "Listen, son, you're not a lost cause or anything," but then turned around and said, "But you need to understand, this is some serious fucking shit you've gotten yourself into." Alright. Okay. He said to keep the slate clean until a certain time, and we would discuss it again then. He told me not to let it crush me if I relapsed, just go a longer period of time without giving in the next time. Oh, that was something that I did, I remember. I would just try to, like, go a day without masturbating, and then relapse, and then go, like, 2 days without masturbating, and then relapse. Like, I figured as long as I was improving, then it was probably fine, because I couldn't beat myself up too much about it if I was technically getting better. Anyway, what was David's conclusion? He says, having someone else aware of my problem and helping me was the greatest benefit. In our next chapter, casual sex is no casual matter. Find out why. So what do you think? Why is it important to remember that Jehovah is ready to forgive? Any answers in the comments? Why is it important to remember that Jehovah is ready to forgive? I feel like that's the last thing that I would be thinking after this, is that God is ready to forgive. Because if he's so forgiving, just let the people masturbate. It's literally not doing anything wrong, and it actually helps a lot of people. So, what the fuck? Since God, who created sexual urges, also says that you should cultivate self-control, what confidence must he have in you? What confidence must he have in you? I would have ended that question with, since God, who created sexual urges, also says that you should cultivate self-control, how big of a dick do you think God is? Because he also apparently made it beneficial in a lot of ways. It has a lot of benefits, and he doesn't want you to have those. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of this chapter. But yeah, that's the end of this chapter. But I decided that I would go on the Watchtower online library and look up the topics of masturbation. And when I looked it up, it gives me 2 sections, from 1986 to 2019 and from 1930 to 1985. So I was like, oh ho ho, I need to see what they said back in the day. So when you look in the Watchtower Index on different topics, it'll show you a bunch of different articles from a bunch of different watchtowers and stuff. And the first one that comes up is masturbation can lead to homosexuality. So this is something that they used to preach in like the 70s, I guess. But let me find it. I'm pretty sure it came up in here too. Yeah, it even comes up as early as 1989, or so no, as late as 1989. So they've been preaching that for a while, which is great. Oh gosh, it's so stupid. And the thing is, it's like they make it clear that it's not a sin that you can like get disfellowshipped or anything for, but it's still kind of a sin. But at the same time, like it's sinful, but it's not a sin. You can't get kicked out of the congregation for it, but at the same time, it's bad, and you can lose privileges for it. It's like, is it a sin or isn't it? Like, I thought that, all sin was equally bad in the eyes of God. So why? So am I allowed to masturbate or what? Just, eh. Mm, this, I. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm so frustrated. This is so. It's big dumb. It's big dumb. But yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat knows. I'm sure that anybody who would be watching this video, I would hope, would understand already that masturbation is normal. Masturbation is healthy. Masturbation has a lot of health benefits: stress relief, pain relief, can help relieve cramps, can make you better at sex and know what kind of sexual stuff you enjoy. It can give you a better sex life within your marriage or relationship, etc. Lots of benefits. And it's not an addiction. I mean, you can become addicted, but it's not like automatically like if you masturbate, then you're addicted to masturbation. And it certainly isn't going to turn you into a homosexual like myself. Although I guess I can't really attest to that personally, anecdotally, because I masturbated and I'm pansexual as fuck. So maybe I'm not the best person to ask about whether or not masturbation will turn you gay. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't, because I know plenty of straight people who masturbate, and they're still pretty straight. I don't know. But yeah. That's what Watchtower has to say to young people about masturbation. Mostly going back and forth between don't be ashamed and guilty, but you should feel bad about it. Just not so bad that you give up even trying to not masturbate because it's a totally pointless thing to do. You know? They try to go for that middle ground. But yeah, let me change this back to bum bum bum. It's me, just me. Well, this is it. That's it. I hope everybody had fun. Does anybody have any closing thoughts or questions? I would appreciate it. And thank you guys all for coming to my live stream. Thanks for coming. I'm so funny. Yeah. But yeah, I've been meaning to cover this for a while because obviously everybody wants to hear me talk about this. It's hilarious. But also just how dumb the whole thing is with, yeah. And I will probably try to live stream some more rebuttals of the Young People Ask book later because it's a bad, bad book. And I'm a young people, so if anybody's gonna rebut it, if anybody's gonna rebut it, it should be me. So I'm gonna. But yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming. I said that twice now. Thank you guys for being here, and I will see you later.